It's a vibe. Yeah. Where you tryna go? Let me know, love. What's the destination if there's no trust? When you in a hurry, take your time. This is not love, not love. Keep it real, I know it gets too complicated. Not tryna school you on love, but we faded. Flashback to when we used to get naked. You would talk this shit, I knock it down like a flagrant. Yeah, I know your ex didn't do you right, and you ain't going through it for the second time. Slow it down, cause I feel like I'm about to slide. I just wanna vibe, baby, take our time. Can we slow it down just a little bit? More sex, less stress for a little bit. Vibe out, couple trips for a little bit. Time will tell, boy, you need.
Growing up, I was fortunate enough to witness my dad showcase his vulnerable side. It seemed that vulnerability was a part of him. But I barely witnessed other men or ex-lovers expose that side of themselves. It seemed as if in moments when they were comfortable enough to release, a voice inside would caution them against it and lead them to repress their true feelings, not realizing that, well, masking that part of themselves creates greater harm than shedding a few tears. And if you've ever dated an African man, you are well aware of the effects that the lack of vulnerability can have on intimacy. My name is Agnes Into, and this is The Love Is Show. And on this episode, we begin with a question of why African men find it difficult to be vulnerable in relationships.
I do believe that African men find it difficult to show vulnerability. And I also believe that part of the reason is because I said earlier, we're like the hunters, right? We go out, we gather the food, we go hunting, we bring the food back. We're not supposed to show emotion like a woman would show emotion. We're not supposed to cry. You know, we're not supposed to show any form of weakness because we were never taught to do so.
So I think, again, I mean, this all cycles back to us being a extremely patriarchal society where we have these cliche stereotypes of what a man should and shouldn't do or be or whatever. And then that somehow extends to having plain old normal human emotions like bemansu is a thing. And I'm just like, no, that's actually toxic if your man has never cried or never. That means he's holding these negative emotions in and everything like that. I appreciate men who are able to express their emotions openly and like, you know, real men cry, man. Like if you're so confident in who you are as a man, you can cry in front of your woman and it's not emasculating or anything in that way. And I think it's just how you're raised. Men should this, men shouldn't that, a man must, it's just, I feel like it's leading to a lot of really toxic, you know, where they're unable to, like their own, you know, their mom will die or something and
they're just like,
it's appropriate to express human emotion. That is not you being a sissy or womanly or anything like that.
I think it's quite refreshing, actually, even when your man cries in front of you or he shows his emotions for you. I'm not used to seeing that, and when I did see it, at first I was like, oh, what is ooh? You know, I didn't know how to deal with it. But then, you know, when I kind of like thought about it, I was like, oh, actually, this is really nice. You know, like the fact that you would feel so vulnerable to share something like this.
Because it shows that he trusts you and all of that. So,
Definitely.
I don't think it's an African man thing. That one right there is just a man thing. Period. I don't think you see any difference between a Black American man, a Ghanaian man, and an African man. Men have a hard time being vulnerable because at the end of the day, we don't trust you. I mean, I don't know how more to say. Because in vulnerability, you also reveal what can be used against you. You see where I'm coming from? Yeah. And women are one of those people, they're cool with you today, but when there's the reason why we say hell have no fury. Because when that moment comes that she's angry, all of those vulnerability things she will use against you.
pew, pew, pew,
You know what I'm
case in
saying?
point.
So you don't necessarily want to empower a person with the weapons that can be used to destroy you. You know what I'm saying? So men are very careful as to what insecurities you present to your woman. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because she will tell you, man, women know how to cut you in a way that other men can't cut you because they don't see, the other men don't see you in your nakedness, in your vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? It could be something simple. Yeah, you talking all this, but you're cricket.
You might be telling all all your friends like, yo, I'm that guy. And then she just gonna say one thing.
I mean, we have mental illness in our communities, and we need therapy. But we will never, and a lot of us know that we need therapy. It's like a massage. If you never had a massage before, well, you know that there are quirks in your body and blood that needs to flow right, you know, and it feels good when you do it. But we won't admit to it because it's a foreign construct. And our fathers never told us, never taught us that side of like just letting yourself go. So yeah, it's a problem in our society.
It's white people thing because African men are not romantic. Like they can't just talk like they can't talk their problem to their partner. Sometimes they hide things inside them. If, for instance, if I'm with a girl, I will know, like, it's not everything that, as I said, that I will tell you.
Yeah, I think an African man will find it difficult to be vulnerable because he might think you would use that against him, or you know his weakness, so he will not show or talk to you about certain things he's supposed to communicate to you, to at least ease it off his chest and all of that. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be very careful. All I can say is, even with men, your friends, you know, it's not just a woman thing. You know, it's not like men have lack of vulnerability when it comes to the women they're with. We have lack of vulnerability because we just don't trust people, period. You know, as a man, there are so many things that can be used against you. I mean, like, let's take vulnerability. We talked about this earlier. You're not satisfying your woman. You know you're not satisfying your woman. But you think a man,
which you know all the time.
You think a man is gonna go and tell another guy or his friends that? Because that's vulnerability that eventually is gonna be used against him.
Never.
You know what I'm saying? It could be the moment where you and your boys are having drinks and you talking smack. Well, I can't let your woman come. You know what I'm saying? Cracking jokes on you in front of others. Oh, so no, men are not vulnerable. Don't think when a man is not being vulnerable to you, the woman, is just you. 9 out of 10, you're just the newest one on that he's met, but he's not vulnerable to everybody before.
So I mean, when we are very vulnerable to around you people, it's a gift. Take it.
Yeah, it's true.
And I was talking to a friend from a certain community, and I asked him, so I've been hearing that, you know, your men really be beating the women, you know, and I asked, is it true? And if it's true, why? And the guy was like, oh yeah, you have to beat the woman sometimes. It's not all the time, but sometimes. And I'm like, why? He was like, even the women want you to beat them. I asked, why is this? So he's like, if she steps out of line, she knows she stepped out of line. She's pushing your buttons. If you don't beat her, she'll go outside and go and talk to her friends and let them know that you're pussy, for lack of better, you know, misogynistic, but yeah, you're soft. So if you're soft, what happens is it gets around, and then other people in the community start looking at you as soft. So eventually it could become a problem. People will come and test you, whether it's looking to rob you or take advantage of you in certain ways. So, like, it's nature and nurture. You know, this is how we were raised. Whereas in the West, you know, they say, I love you, but, you know, hugs and things are normal. And so we're allowed to be vulnerable because society enables that, you know?
Now playing David J's Time Will Tell. Stream now on all of your favorite platforms. Can we slow it down just a little bit? More sex, less stress for a little bit. Vibe out, couple trips for a little bit. Time will tell, but you need to make your mind up. Slow it down just a little bit. More sex, less stress for a little bit. Vibe out, couple trips for a little bit.
Now, did you know that men experience emotions at the same level that women do? It's a proven fact, but you'd never guess because, as you've heard from my friends and may have witnessed in your own lives, men suppress those emotions of sadness and grief, which is then displayed through aggression. So take that fact right there and think, in what ways can aggression affect romantic relationships? Well, if there's a conflict and the man is experiencing sadness or grief and has never been taught healthier ways of releasing those feelings and chooses to suppress those emotions, then how would he respond to his girlfriend in an argument? He could shut down completely, usually displayed through the silent treatment, which I hate. Or he could react violently, like punching and slapping her. Again, both of those are examples of horrible ways to resolve any conflict. So, what are the best and worst ways to resolve a conflict? Here's Fiona with more.
Probably the worst way to resolve a conflict is to threaten somebody and into silence, like shut the hell up. We're not talking about this anymore, and that's the end of that. Would probably be the worst way I could think of to resolve, because nothing is resolved. You just deaded the conversation, which is not the same thing, you know, or just ignore each other.
Oh, God.
Again,
The silent treatment.
you haven't discussed the issue, you haven't resolved anything, you've just stopped the conversation.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the worst way,
It's
because
most toxic, and it doesn't really.
you don't move forward. You don't move forward. Shushing someone down or just ignoring them doesn't solve anything. So
The worst way of conflict resolution, I really believe, is to always want to be right. You know, and to always react. I spoke about this before. If you react to whatever somebody's saying, it's like you have your point of view, but you're not expressing your point of view. You are just reacting to what this person's saying. It's like a debate, and you're writing down your notes. And when he drops this one, then you say it. When you drop this one, then you say whatever comes to mind. But sometimes whatever comes to mind isn't the most sensible. You know?
Tit for tat.
Exactly. And it just becomes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
And sometimes I say, okay, let's agree to disagree, you know? But I still think we can find middle ground without disagreeing.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the best way is to just, as we're saying, communicate, but hear your partner. Listen. If we listen more, I think we'd have fewer wars.
It's true.
You know, just listen to what the person's saying. You might not agree, but when you go away from that conversation, something might trigger something else, and it'll be like, that's an aha moment. I now see what she was talking about. You know, the funny thing is it could happen like hours from then, a year from then, but you still grow from that thing. So listening is key, and listening is an art.
Yeah.
You learn how to listen.
And you said something important, like we're on the same team. You're not my enemy, you're not my opponent. So like, we in this together.
Right.
I don't want conflict. So how do we remember we're playing the same game, same team.
This is the king of self-sabotage. And the worst way to resolve a conflict in your relationship is by pointing a finger and forgetting that 4 fingers on you. I mean, was it three fingers on you? You always got to start with some, hey baby, I know we have a problem, and I know I f***ed up. Don't joke with that. I know I f***ed up. Women love it. You know, small little lies. You know you f***ed up, and then you drop everything. The fact that you started with the fact that you know you f***ed up, you're good.
So what happens if she's the one?
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, these days women believe when they cheat on you, it's your fault.
Just wanna vibe, baby, take our time. Can we slow it down just a little bit? More sex, less stress for a little bit. Vibe out, couple trips for a little bit. Time will tell, boy, you need to make your mind up. Slow it down just a little bit. More sex, less stress for a little bit. Vibe out, couple trips for a little bit. Time will tell, boy, you need to make your mind up. Bad communication was the reason. No matter what I say, you don't believe it. You want us to be open and achieve it. But it's a sticky one when I'm in my feels. I know your ex didn't do you right, and you ain't going through it for the second time. Slow it down, cause I feel like I'm about to slide. I just wanna...
What are the worst ways to resolve conflict in a relationship? I think we've said communication is like a really big key. But I think also like diving deeper into that, I realize I'm the type of person, I will communicate, but I need time to process. So I can't just jump straight into let's resolve, right? So sometimes I might need to step back, maybe come back another day and say, hey, I'm ready. And I feel like if I don't have a partner that's understanding of like, I can't just, right now, let's talk about it, let's mend it, then I struggle with feeling like my voice is not, my voice is not being heard in the relationship, and it actually makes it worse. So what I typically do is I say, I'm good, we're good. I just need time and space to process, and I'll come back and have conversation. So communication, yes, but I think partners communicate differently. And that's important to name and recognize. And you can't push your partner to communicate when you're ready. Does that make sense?
True.
Even though too much time is not the best either. But
Right.
yeah.
Well, the thing I use is communication, right? You know, conflict resolution in a relationship boils down to communication. You know, you have to be able to be honest and tell the person. You know, the old saying is not what you say, but how you say it is where it kicks in here, right? You know, because it's always going to be a conflict, different personalities. You know, I've had issues with girls I've dated, and most of it has been cultural differential because I spent, 35 years outside of this culture, so dating, interaction between men and women is different than here, right? So there's conflicts that get created that's just because I don't understand their culture, or maybe she doesn't understand my culture. You know, but I do like what you're saying, which is one, if you know that the conflict, you're the cause of the conflict, then the best thing is to start with, I'm at fault. You know, the admission of that helps significantly. You know, if the woman is at fault, say you still don't go pointing fingers. You know, at the end of the day, you have to know how to tell the person the issue without the person being beaten down or feeling like there's no value in the relationship, right? So, you know, I believe in using what's called the sandwich method, right? You start with something positive, right? Hey, baby, you know, I just want to let you know that I really love when you do this, and that. And then you give them the meat. You know, however, you know, this, you know, cause this, cause that.
All that means.
And then you come back and end in the meat. And you know what? I know that we can fix this, and when we fix it, we'll be able to blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? So that's the moment. Communication. That's what I can say. You have to communicate.
The best way to resolve conflict is to talk it through.
Yeah.
To talk it through.
I was gonna go to the obvious. No, but
Girl.
but talk. Let's talk.
That's after you've talked it through, when the issue is really resolved, you put a seal on it this way.
Yeah.
Let's
But
now,
definitely talking.
yeah, you have to talk it through.
And kind of like find a solution as to, okay, we've talked. How
You've
is it?
identified the issue, how are we getting
We're gonna do it, this and that, and then actually do it and actually follow through. So if it's a thing where you're not showing enough attention, you talk about you're not showing me enough attention, okay, follow it through, let's go out, let's do
How
this,
are we
let's
gonna,
spend
what do you
time.
want?
Yeah.
There's a lot more of this conversation on the Love Is podcast. Tune in wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Welcome back. Here's more with Cecilia and Fiona on conflict resolution.
There's this old adage that goes, you should never let the sun go down on your anger. Yeah. And I think it's really, really good conventional wisdom. Where if it happens today, try and talk about it today. Because the longer you wait, it's harder to bring up, and then you're just like, oh, forget it. But it's something you really do need to address. So. Yeah.
And you know what? Have you seen the when there's an old man and he holds an umbrella over the old lady, and it's literally listen, no matter how upset you are with your partner, I don't think you should now show some type of contempt or anything. It should still be the love. It's just that we have a disagreement, but I still love you.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you can't tell your partner when they have done something that is you're not happy with, then your relationship is going down the tubes. True. Because the worst thing is when a person harbors an issue.
And that's what happens. You asked me what happened in my last relationship, but that's what happened. I realized she was happening a lot of stuff.
Yeah. See, and then what happens? They harbor it, it stays, and then
it kept coming.
It erupts.
Then I got tired.
It erupts. Eventually, it becomes like this eruption. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
And you know what actually even makes it more annoying is when you hear that, right? And you're like, it's like, you've been feeling this way all this time.
You just said that.
All this
months ago, you
just letting me know now. So really, what that tells me then is, from that time to now, you've been faking.
Straight up.
You know what I'm saying? You've been acting.
Straight up.
So how do I know that the things I was going there was really you, or you playing into this acting?
Now this is how I don't know how my relationship broke up. Yeah. Because I checked the timelines of everything. You've been angry for this long, this, that. Then in my head, okay, you've already checked out.
I'm saying, but why hold it in, right? So I get it.
And I've heard this a lot. The best ways of conflict resolution is, even if you're angry at each other, before you go to sleep, don't go to sleep angry. You know, whether you're gonna at least say goodnight. You know,
or we'll talk in the morning.
Exactly.
At least.
It breaks that. That
tension.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Men, I get it. I understand why it can be challenging to be vulnerable in an environment that doesn't reinforce it. Your relationship should be a place of refuge, one that fosters physical and emotional safety. Now, I think quite often we, both men and women, tend to forget about the emotional safety part. But here's how to create emotional safety in your relationship. Listen to each other. Don't be defensive or dismiss your partner's feelings, blame them, or make invalidating comments when they're trying to open up to you. Typically, when people do not share, it's often rooted in fear of being misunderstood or dismissed. Vulnerability is nakedness, and most people don't feel comfortable being vulnerable when someone or with someone they feel is a potential threat. And knowing how many find it difficult to be vulnerable, be sure to thank your partner each time he or she shares something with you. Thank your partner for trusting you enough to open up to you, and let them know you appreciate learning more about them. Also, be consistent with your words and actions. Consistency builds trust, and with that, you can learn to count on your partner. Now, I hope this helps in creating a safe space in your relationship. Lastly, it's important to share this fact with you. That fact is, suppressing emotions can lead to depression and anxiety. But for men, especially, it can increase their risk of suicide. So think about that the next time you want to teach boys and men to suppress their emotions. I love you all so much, and thank you for watching with me. Connect with us on social media and also listen to the Love Is podcast. Until next time, here is a lot of love, light, and blessings coming your way. Bye.
Stress for a little bit, vibe out, couple trips for a little bit. communication was the reason. No matter what I say, you don't believe it. You want us to be open and achieve it. But it's a sticky one when I'm in my feels. I know your ex didn't do you right, and you ain't going through it for the second time. Slow it down, cause I feel like I'm about to slide. I just wanna vibe, baby, take our time. Can we slow it down just a little bit? More sex, less stress for a little bit. Vibe out, couple trips for a little bit. Time will tell, but you need to make your mind up. Slow it down just a little bit. More sex, less stress for a little bit. Vibe out, couple trips for a little bit. Time will tell, but you need to make your mind up.